from Plato's Timaeus. When Solon arrived in Egypt, he was exhorted and blessed with extraordinary honours by the inhabitants. He was asked to talk about the ancient tales and traditions of his lands. In comparison to the priests, neither he nor any other Greek person knew much of times past. The knowledge he did have was of Athens, how Pharonius, who was considered to be the first man, and about Niobe. He also told of Deucalion and Pyrrhus, and how they survived after the flood, and about their descendants. He struggled to determine how many years had passed since then. One of the old priests had queried Solon, "Solon, Solon, you Greeks are eternally children. No Greek is old." Solon was bemused when hearing this. "What do you mean by what you say?" The priest answered, "You are all young in soul, because you have in your soul no knowledge of old, nor of the ancient traditional ways. Any old lessons of times past are all but gone." The reason behind this lies in the following. Humanity has experienced many catastrophes throughout history, ranging from fires to cataclysms, from small to large in devastation. Fire seems more apparent to those dwelling high up in the mountains, due to the sun, than those lower down amidst the valleys near to the rivers and sea. A myth that was passed down through the ages tells of Python, the child of the sun, having been struck by lightning and killed. These disasters unfolded throughout the ages and passed on as fables. In Egypt, the river Nile is well known for its flooding of the plains, bringing with it fertile lands and abundance in life. This was regarded as the blessings from the gods. The opposite of this is the major floodings, regarded as a cleansing of the earth by the gods, when man's heart had turned immoral. The people in the lower plains perished, whilst those high up in the hills and mountains, shepherds and their livestock, would survive. The priest continued, "In our country, water falls from the clouds above onto the earth. This has always been so, as a natural cycle, and these are the traditions we come to cherish. Ebbs and flows, rises and declines, they are our handed-down lineage. The overall truth that encompasses our civilization is this: where the balance between nature and man is respected and acknowledged, the extremities of weather is minimal, harmony reigns. Humankind sometimes thrives with bigger populations or smaller ones, yet harmony permits they flourish. Many great attributes are created by our people, both beautiful and great in feats of accomplishments. These are the things written in our temples and preserved since ancient times. But in your country, as well as in other countries, what has been arranged in each case to be suitable as a record is minimal. Fateful and appointed intervals of disease and destruction were wrought by the heavens. Many would perish, leaving only a selected few, the uneducated and the illiterate, forcing the civilizations to start anew without past knowledge, as I said, young in soul. What you said before, Solon, about your own traditions of genealogies differs little from children's fairy tales, because you remember only one flood on the earth, though many more have existed. Yet you do acknowledge that in your country lived the most beautiful and best human race, from which you and your fellow citizens came. Your newly born people are like a seed, born from the dying plant, yet without the previous knowledge from your ancestors. For once upon a time, before the great cataclysm, the present city of the Athenians was excellent in war, and in general in its governance, regarded as being perfect. In that city it is said that good works were done, and the most excellent regimes existed at that time. When Solon heard this, he was amazed and showed a great willingness to learn more, begging the priest to tell him everything in general, and in every detail about his ancient fellow citizens. So the priest said to him, "There is no reason for me not to tell you, Solon. I will tell you both for your sake and for the sake of your city, but above all else for the sake of the goddess who protected, nurtured, and educated both your own country and ours, 1,000 years ago since. For she took the seed for you out of the earth from Hephaestus and later hours. It is written in our sacred books that the arrangement of one city took place 8,000 years ago. So I will tell you of the laws they had and of the most beautiful things attributed to those people and what was accomplished 9,000 years ago. And then, when we have the opportunity, we will reveal all the details, since the texts themselves will be before us. If we examine the laws of that city back then and compare them to the laws we have today, you will find comparisons, remnants of that time. First, we have the priestly race, which is completely separate from the others. Then we have the class of craftsmen, also separately organized, because they work in isolation from the others. So too the class of shepherds, of hunters and farmers. Surely you have realized that the class of warriors here is also distinct from the others, that they are not legally allowed to engage in anything other than war. You will have noticed, moreover, that their weapons are shields and spears, with which we were the first of all the Asians to arm ourselves, because the goddess taught them to us, just as she had taught you first in those places. As far as education is concerned, you can see how much care the law has taken from its very early origin, bestowing divination and various forms of medicine to heal. You can see divine laws created such sciences to aid humans with knowledge and wisdom. So it is the wonderful goddess who first founded your city. She bestowed great learning upon you, whilst minding the details of the astronomical timings and movements. With her wisdom, virtuous people were born and reared, utilizing the laws she had given. Such principles gave rise to men of honour and virtue, women of grace and tenderness, since the people were akin to the gods and goddesses, in a sense, in God's image. It is written, "Your nation arose from nothing, becoming something of greatness, and yet like many who came before them, the end result was the same. Governed by pride and greed, it grew in arrogance. Being situated in the Atlantic Ocean, they forced themselves upon others and rose up against Europe and Asia, showing signs of decay in morality. For at that time the sea could be crossed. At its entrance stood what today you refer to as the Pillar of Hercules, was a giant island, this island being larger than Libya and Asia combined. From here people could disembark to other islands, leading as far as the opposite continent. Today this island is referred to as Atlantis, regarded by many people today as being merely a myth. Being a great and admirable power of kings, ruling over the whole island as well as over many other islands and parts of the continent. Those kings ruled the parts of the mouth of the continent, from Libya to Egypt and Europe to Tyrrhenia. Therefore, this entire force, having been gathered together and unified, attempted with one of its expeditions to enslave both our own place and yours, and the whole of the continent. At that time, Solon, the power of your city was outstanding against all men. It had become a force unto itself. After many years had passed and the island's people had become ethically corrupt, terrible earthquakes and cataclysms occurred, and in a terrible day and night your whole army was buried beneath the earth, and the island of Atlantis, which was submerged in the sea, disappeared. That is precisely why that part of the ocean is impassable and unexplored even now, due to the obstruction of clay created by the island when it sank, which is very little below the surface of the sea.